Hello everybody, it's Catherine from my hillside garden. We're going to go in and we're going to check on the worms today, and then we're going to start the process of harvesting the worms. So come on and join me. Okay, we're not doing too bad. Just a couple guys up top and lots of baby worms still. This just amazes me that they all come up here. So we have had a ton of rain. So I'm going to attribute all these guys traveling to this crazy rainy weather we had this weekend. Let me give you a look inside so you can see what I'm looking at. We're looking at paper shavings. But I wanted to show you there's nobody, just a tiny little guy or two. And it looks like nobody's in that side. We do have travelers, but like I said, I'm just attributing that to rain. And oh, look on the lid. That's where you could see the mites. But not as bad as they were. And I think it's partly the sun. Let's see if we can get them back into focus. Can you see those guys roaming around on there? But not nearly as bad as they were last week. And I don't really see any potworms. So let's see what it looks like underneath the bed. I hope I can get in close enough. Look at these little worms. Oh, there's a guy coming from the side. Oh, can I get him in focus? Can I get him in focus? There we go. Can you see them? Okay, maybe we'll take them on the side. Tons of babies in there. Okay. I think I fed on this side last time. And remember, I said I was going to put in a lot of bedding. And I did. So, I'm thinking everything's looking good. Get some of these guys up here so we could take a look. Because you know, I'm always looking for cocoons, but I never seem to be able to find them. But we know they're making babies, and that's all that matters. Look at how nice that is. Now, I would say we are ready to begin with harvesting our worms, or our worm castings, rather. So, we're going to try an experiment that I've seen, I believe, on London Worms channel. If you've never been over to his channel to see his worms, please go over. I'll put a link at the end of the video for you to go over and take a look at his channel. I know recently Emily, the crazy worm lady, she has also done some harvesting. So you can go over to her channel to look if you'd like. But I also don't see any potworms today, so I'm kind of glad about that. There's a tiny little guy. Can I get him in focus? See him? Right there? I just think that's so cool. Okay, so what we're going to use for harvesting, I have this salad bin. It's from salad leaves that you get in the grocery store. Yes, we do have to buy some of those from time to time through the winter. So I save them. Sometimes I use them to give things to friends. Makes it look a little bit nicer, and it also helps to store things in the fridge a little bit easier for when I'm going to bring them to other people. But what I'm going to do today is I'm going to see if I can use this as an attractor to get the worms to come in here and make it easier for me to harvest out of the current bin. So what I'm going to do, I'm not going to put holes in the bottom, I'm just going to do them in the sides. And hopefully we could do this. Let's see. Alright, now what I'm going to be worried about is this little sharp edge. So what I will do is I will file that off or cut it off so there's nothing that could hurt the worms going in and out. I had been hoping that with the drill bit it wouldn't leave those protrusions, but it really does. And I'll have to file them off of there. So let me get done with that and then we'll go back inside. Alright, so I've drilled holes all around the sides, none in the bottom. I do have some dry coconut coir in here, and I am going to put ground up food in here, and then I have more coconut coir to put in on top of that. Now, I've harvested worms 2 other ways before with some success, but still had to pick through by hand. I used to dump the whole thing out on a tarp and then pick the worms out. That is back-breaking work. You don't want to do that. The other way that I've done it, which was pretty successful, all ways to harvest are rather slow. So the other way that I did it, I opened up a black garbage bag, trash bag, and I poked holes in it, and I set it into the container with that on top, and then I put fresh food and bedding in there, and the worms just came through. Kind of like a 360 type of setup. And that works pretty good, but you still pick out a lot of worms. Now I know I'm going to have to pick worms out of my castings, so what I'm trying to avoid is the back-breaking work of having to pick hundreds and hundreds out. So what I'm hoping is that they'll migrate into here looking for the food, because I'm not going to feed anymore in the regular part of the bin. So I'm hoping they'll migrate into here, and then each week I can go through. I'm going to be setting up another bin for the worms to put in as they go into the, I'll call this the feed box or the harvest box. So let's get the food and I'll show you how I'm going to put it in there. How did I know my camera was going to give me a glitch? So you didn't get to see what I just did. I'll have to explain it again. What I did was with the bin, you can kind of see the food is in there now. I ground up frozen food in the food processor, and so that means I did not take the moisture out of it. It's dry bedding in that container, and I want to let that have its own moisture. So, and since it's cold, I know the worms aren't going to go into it right away, which is okay. Now, I don't want you to think I'm starving the worms. I'm not starving the worms because there are plenty of things in the bin yet that are not digested. So this is just to encourage them to find this as the moisture evens out with it, so that they'll go into this from the sides. There are no holes on the bottom. That way, when I come in to check, I can just lift that out. And if I need to sift through that to get the worms out, then I can do that. So let's get this put in there and I'll bring you back. You can see what I did. I scraped down to almost the bottom of the bin. Not quite, but almost. And I've put this container in there with the sides of the compost to the edges. We're going to put that around the front and the back. Could let a little bit of it dip into there, that's okay. And this way, the worms will eventually find their way into that container from the sides. Now, what I will do, just to be sure I don't invite any fruit flies, I'm going to put this bedding, the paper bedding, back along the top of everything. And this way, hopefully, next week we'll have some worms in there and we'll see how they're doing. So thank you for joining me today. I hope you'll continue to watch my adventures in worm composting. They really are remarkable things to work our soil for us. And then as I do harvest the castings, I will be using them in my garden, and I'm going to choose some plants to put the worm compost on and some plants not to put the worm compost on. So join me again for the next update. Give me a thumbs up if you like today's video. Have a great day.